Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanyavari Paschatya Dasatani. So I'm happy to be here with you. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I am traveling now. You can see this is a hotel room. And I was asked to speak about Damodar, so I wanted to speak about how to become more absorbed in this month in meditation on Damodar, the pastime, and also the effects of, or just the festival of Kartik and what that means. So let's start with the fact, the reality, that this Lila is unique to Bhauma-lila. As we know, Krishna is an eternal youth, around 16 years old. Well, you can't say in the spiritual world he's 16, but as we would relate to this world, he has the form of a 16-year-old. So in the Leelas in the spiritual world, there is no growing up pastimes, there is no babyhood, there is no youth. And these pastimes of growing up are unique to this world, and they are said to be some of the sweetest of Krishna's pastimes. So it's interesting that although we have turned our back on Krishna and tried to compete with him, still Krishna offers us the opportunity to hear, and you could say observe, because hearing is observing, these Leelas. And of course offering Mother Jashoda and Mother Devaki the chance to engage in these pastimes with Krishna. So we are very fortunate to hear about these Leelas. They're very deep and very profound. So let's start with the month of Kartik that celebrates this Leela. And what does that month of Kartik mean for us, and why is it special? So we've heard that during the month of Kartik, anything you do is 1,000 times more powerful. So therefore, devotees do extra sadhana, extra austerity, extra sacrifice, extra service. Now, when Prabhupada was here, he was always stressing preaching as the main austerity. So when it's not that we just want to do austerity for austerity's sake, although all austerity is good, it strengthens us, it helps us with self-discipline, but it's nice to do the austerity of two things, increasing and in volume and increasing in quality. So volume is like I could chant more rounds, but even more important, I can increase the quality of my chanting. I can eat more simply, I can sleep a little less, I can use more time in service, I can use more time in sadhana. So for me, when I think about austerity, I think of one of the greatest austerities is to control the mind. And so people always ask me, what is your Kartik austerity? And I may have several austerities, but the one I think that's most important is the austerity of listening to my rounds when I chant, the austerity of controlling the mind. Because sometimes controlling the mind is painful, isn't it? You know, you're chanting japa, it would be easier just to let your mind just meander down whatever road it wants to meander down. But to control it, it can be very difficult, and it can take tremendous amounts of energy. So to me, that's one of the most important austerities during Kartik. But in general, because devotional service is so much more powerful, and because this is Radharani's month, all these austerities that we do during this month please Radharani, and we get her mercy. And by getting her mercy, we just come to another level of devotional service. All of us want to go deeper, and we're always praying to go deeper, isn't it? This is the month where it's so much easier to go deeper because we have access to Radharani's mercy. The processes of bhakti are more powerful. The whole month is auspicious. Everything is auspicious. And you can see that during this month, devotees are all feeling very, very blissful. They're in the mode of celebration. It's just, they feel Radharani's mercy very strongly. You can feel this month is special. And they meditate on this amazing, sweet lila of Damodar and sing every day about the love that's exchanged between Jasoda and Damodar, and merge themselves in understanding that love. So this month, for me, and I can suggest for you also, this month is really a special time in the sense that we can enter into a deeper understanding of what is love. The Acharyas say that the love that Jasoda had for Damodar is almost equal, or very much equal in many ways, to the love that Radha has for Krishna, which is inconceivable because it's a different rasa. And the Madhurya rasa is more intimate, deeper, greater. But Jasoda had similar love to Radharani. So what is important about hearing a lila of someone with that love? Well, sometimes we can say we love, but we don't have a standard by which we can confirm or deny that we actually have it. Just say, oh, I love you. Well, what does love look like? How can you judge love if you don't have a standard? People say, I love God. By what standard do you love? What is love? So there was so much love between Damodar and Jasoda and Damodar in this lila, that it gives us a standard by which we can understand, oh, this is what love means. So and it's not just that the devotee loves Krishna, but you see Krishna reciprocating with Jasoda's love. And we can just observe the sweetness of it, the sweetness of surrender, which sometimes we fear doing because we fear giving up independence. And here we see the surrender, sweet surrender. Jasoda's completely enthralled by Krishna. So that's the meditation. Really, this month, Damodar, it's of course we're meditating on this beautiful lila and how special it is, and what all the details of the lila and the different nuances of understanding of the lila. But the predominating factor of that lila is just this intense love between Krishna and his devotee that we observe, and we can say, oh yeah, this is what love is. This is what I am aspiring to, even if you're not in Vatsalya Rasa. But this is what I'm aspiring for. This kind of love. This is what love looks like. So, we all know the pastime. What makes this pastime special? Well, for me, the way I look at this pastime is I look at through the eyes of how Krishna is reciprocating with the love and the desire of the devotee to love him. And so, in one sense, you could say the whole pastime is just Damodar reciprocating with his mother's desire for love. Now you might say, but she's trying to bind him up. If he's reciprocating, why isn't he allowing her to bind him? Because it's extracting, his actions extract more love and devotion from the heart of his devotee. And as that love and devotion comes out, it extracts more from his heart. So the nature of Krishna is that he does things that will enhance that love and affection. That's his nature. He always does that. That's his MO. So everything he's doing with Mother Yasoda in this pastime and previous to this pastime that leads up to this pastime, everything is just for the pleasure of Yasoda. It's just to increase her love for him. That's the only reason he's doing it. And that's Krishna's nature, to fulfill the desire of the devotee. So whatever goes on in the Leela, which could look in it, you could see it in various ways. Excuse me. But whatever goes on in the Leela, it's only going on because Krishna is extracting love and affection out of Yasoda and relishing that love and affection. And then giving back that love and affection to Yasoda, causing her to relish that love and affection, and then giving back to Krishna. So this is relishment of love and affection. And that's the way Krishna operates. That's what he does. That's what he's all about. And so for us, in our relationship with Krishna, from his side, he's doing everything perfectly. He knows what to do and how to do it, to work with us, to bring out our love. The problem is, from our side, we're not reciprocating. So he's doing all the giving. We're doing a lot of taking and not a lot of giving, and not giving on the level or the quality that he's giving to us. So when we hear the pastimes, when we meditate on the pastimes, it's a beautiful thought to think Krishna's giving me pure, unadulterated love. And what am I giving back to Krishna? Can I not give back at least that much, what he's giving to me? Of course, you can't artificially develop prema, but the idea is that I'm receiving this love. What am I giving back? How am I reciprocating? And so a beautiful prayer for us during this month is, "Oh Krishna, please help me reciprocate with the love you're giving me. You love me, I don't love you. I want to love you. I want to reciprocate in rasa because this is what will make you happy." So this month, when you're thinking, I should do more austerity, I should make sacrifice, think of it in terms of love. Just analyze it in terms of love. Krishna's loving me. What can I do? What can I give up? What austerity may I perform? Which will be a manifestation of reciprocation with Krishna's love. This to me is really the whole essence of Krishna. His whole existence is just to extract love from the heart, extract rasa, juice in the relationship. And this is what Krishna thrives on. So everything Damodar is doing is to create that love, create that relish, both for himself and for his devotee. So, of course, the story starts with Nalakuvara Manigriva, who became proud due to being sons of Kuvera. And so there's a lesson here that when one becomes wealthy, it's very easy to become proud. And then when one has money, they're prone to degradation because they can afford to be degraded. That they have the money and time to be degraded. And so when you have too much money and too much time, and you live and you have material inclination, there's a good chance your wealth will end up degrading you. And so that's the lesson that we learn in this section. They were also intoxicated. When you have money, you can afford intoxication. And it's ironic to me that wealthier people would be more inclined to alcohol and drugs. You would think they would be less inclined because they have more money and they can find happiness in other areas, but that doesn't necessarily follow. So the result of their wealth is they became proud. They then did not properly respect Narada Muni. And Narada Muni, quote unquote, cursed them. So this is an interesting principle, isn't it? That when we become proud, it's so dangerous to become proud that we can become so proud that we end up offending a great sadhu, or by ignoring them or not caring for them. So, what to speak of intoxication? Pride itself is an intoxication. So, now, what happens next is quite amazing when you think about it. Narada Muni was thinking, okay, these are the sons of Kuvera. They're sinful, they're intoxicated, they're bathing with women. This cannot go on. This is wrong. This is bad. And I will bless them by getting them out of this situation. And since they're bathing naked, then they can go as trees as punishment and stand naked until Dwapara Yuga, when I will bless them that they will meet Krishna. Now, what I find so significant about this is that they didn't deserve to be blessed. Narada, had no, you can say, he had no right to bless them. We can't say he had no right, but in a sense, we say he had no reason to bless them. There was nothing they did that deserved them to be blessed, except he wanted to bless them. That was the cause of the blessing. Nothing that they did. The fact that he wanted to bless them, that was it. And so for a pure devotee, he can decide to bless anyone. And Krishna will allow that blessing to go through, even if that person is not qualified. Interesting, isn't it? So I want to tell a story now. This is really important. So there was a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta who later became, I think his name was Kunja Bihari, who later became Bhakti-Vilas Tirtha. And he was in charge of the Chaitanya Math. And he was one of the parties involved in the split. And Prabhupada had commented on that he had, not only Prabhupada, but many members of the Gaudiya Math did not like him because they felt he was taking advantage of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta for position, for wealth, power, and so forth. However, he was an expert manager, and apparently it was he who was responsible for presenting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, or making Srila Bhaktisiddhanta known when they first started the movement, and for managing so many things in the movement. So Prabhupada had said that he had not been very sympathetic to us, ISKCON, and he had done some things, even in the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, which are not appreciated by others. And then one day he got word that Bhakti-Vilas Tirtha Maharaj had died. And then Prabhupada said he went back to Godhead. And so the devotees were asking, how is it that he could go back to Godhead? Because he had offended Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, had been the cause of the split of the Gaudiya Math and so forth. And Prabhupada said one thing, very interesting. He said, because he accepted his service. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta accepted his service. And because he accepted his service, that was it. If a pure devotee accepts your service, that's it. That whatever else you've done and that isn't proper or right becomes insignificant. So Krishna accepted the blessings that Narada gave to Nalakuvara Manigriva. Prabhupada said, like, Krishna had no business with them because they were not devotees anymore. He had no business with them. But because Narada Muni wanted to bless them, then Krishna accepted them. So now Krishna accepts their service. Now they're blessed. They're going to be able to get Krishna's darshan. Krishna went along with that. It's like, this is what Narada Muni wants, then we'll do it. And so Krishna will accept their service. That will be the greatest blessing for them. And the other point is that whatever the pure devotee wants, Krishna will just follow that. So because Narada Muni wanted it, Krishna couldn't say, no, these men are sinful, we're not going to do it. He said, no, okay, we'll do it. So now let's talk a little bit about the Lila and then the significance of the ropes being too short and Mother Yashoda's efforts and the mercy Krishna gave. So in the spiritual world, everything is personal. Now the milk is also a person. So as the story begins, Krishna's hungry, he's very hungry, he has to eat right away. His mother can't do anything. She has the milk on the stove, and the milk is for him. But he demands that she breastfeeds him. And that was very strange that the milk was overflowing, boiling over after a short time. And so the milk is a devotee, and the milk wants to do service, and the milk thought, if Mother Yasoda feeds Krishna all her milk, then Krishna is not going to be hungry for my milk. So the milk therefore boiled over, so Mother Yasoda would stop feeding Krishna and then hopefully feed him. Now Krishna, in order to exhibit his childhood pastimes, he exhibits the nature of a child. And the nature of a child sometimes is they get upset if their mother doesn't do what they want, or they get upset when they're hungry. So right in the middle of feeding, he's very hungry and his mother leaves him and puts him down on the ground and runs into the kitchen. So he was really angry. So he went to one pot, buttermilk pot, and he looked in. There was nothing there. There was nothing in it. And then he was so angry, then he looked for the butter pot, and then he broke it open with a stone. Anyway, eventually his mother came to understand what he had done. She saw what he had done, and she thought, I can't leave him by himself because he's just going to create more mischief, and I have to take care of the milk and so forth. Of course, sometimes Mother Yasoda seems to be angry, but at the same time, she's enjoying everything Krishna does because everything he does is all attractive. Just like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you have the gopis complaining about Krishna's escapades in stealing butter and yogurt. And although they're complaining, they're actually loving it. they're loving that pastime. So they're complaining, but they're still loving it. And so they're just, if you describe Krishna's pastimes, they're transcendentally blissful. So they're describing how Krishna is stealing butter and yogurt, and how he, they steal the butter and yogurt that's on the ground, and they try to get to the ones hanging from the rafters, and if they can't get, they'll crack it, they'll do something just very mischievous. But they're loving it. So Mother Yasoda, seeing Krishna do this, is thinking, he's going to create more mischief. I'm going to have to tie him up for the meantime in order that I can take care of business. So it's all fun. It's not like she's really angry with him. How could you be angry with Krishna? So kitchen is up. She's looking down in the courtyard. She sees what happens, and she's thinking, oh no, he's just going to create more mischief. So she comes down, and when she's walking down the stairs, or just about to walk down the stairs, she sees a stick. It's Nanda Maharaj's stick, and she thinks, well, I'll just, in case he doesn't know I'm serious, I'll bring the stick. And, I'll just show him the stick, like sometimes teachers will show the students the stick. Prabhupada also said that. You cannot punish a student, but you can show them the stick. like you're going to use it, but you never use it. That's as far as you go with showing. You don't use it, you don't touch them, you don't hit them. No physical punishment. So she brought the stick. And Krishna had never seen his mother with a stick. So as we read in the Damodarastakam, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again. His fearful eyes. He was afraid of his mother with a stick. He never saw her. Is she going to use this stick? But it was just a ploy by Mother Yasoda. So, as the story goes, he ran, as the verse goes, he ran in fright of Mother Yasoda. So she ran after him, but she was a little heavier. He was a little on the plump side, so he could run faster. So she was running, as the acharyas say, as I remember correctly, all afternoon to try to catch him. It wasn't just like she ran a few feet and caught him. No, it's like it went on till the afternoon. Anyway, so she gets him, and as we know the story, she is going to try to bind him with a rope. But Krishna decides, I'm not going to be bound. And who can bind Krishna with an ordinary rope? You can't. It's not possible. It doesn't matter how strong the rope is or how long the rope is. So as the verse says, you were bound by your mother's love, because ordinary rope can't bind you. And Krishna and Prabhupada said, yogis are trying to find Krishna or capture Krishna or run after Krishna. But when you bind him with love, when you catch him with love, you can catch him. Otherwise, there's no material way to catch Krishna. There's no way to impress Krishna. Sometimes we think, I'm not that smart, or I'm not that good at this or that. And Krishna's not impressed if you're smart, and he's not impressed if you're good. He's impressed by your effort. He's impressed by your sincerity. So you never have to worry that I'm not good enough for Krishna, because nobody's good enough materially, but he doesn't care anyway. Patra pushpam palam toyam. So, he's saying you can offer water or a leaf, tulsi leaf, or a flower, a little fruit. So, not really an impressive offering. I come to visit you. I'm staying at your house for a week. I bring you a gift. Oh, Prabhu, I brought you some water. I'm like, oh, okay. Not impressive. But this water is special. It's from my well. I really wanted you to taste it. Oh, then you see, then you understand. It's out of love. So, we know the story. rope after rope after rope after rope was insufficient, and Mother Yasoda is bewildered by this. So why was she finally able to bind Krishna? What was the real reason? Well, Krishna thought, my mother is making so much effort. She's making such an endeavor. And after all, she's just punishing me to discipline me. It's for my own good. So I don't want to make her job difficult. So what happened was compassion. It said that the Shaktis of opulence and omniscience didn't want Krishna to be bound up, because that's the mood of Krishna as God, and nobody can bind God. But the Shakti of compassion, when that entered the equation, then the Shakti of compassion takes over and says, let Mother Yasoda bind Krishna. And so then she pulls a hair tie out, and with that hair tie, must have been a big hair tie, she's able to bind Krishna even though he could not be bound by so many ropes. Interesting, right? So when, like it said, Mare Krishna Rake Ke, Rake Krishna Mare Ke. If Krishna wants to protect you, nobody can kill you. If he wants to kill you, nobody can save you. If Krishna doesn't want to be tied up, nobody can tie him. Doesn't matter how strong they are. Doesn't matter how much rope they have. It's not going to work. So when Krishna decided to be bound, then Mother Yasoda was able to do it. So it was out of his compassion for her, out of his sympathy, by seeing her great effort and understanding her great love, that he agreed to be bound. So we're going to come back to this in a moment, but I'm just progressing with the story, but I want to come back to this mercy versus effort, because it's a really, really important topic and interesting. So, question then comes up. Krishna was afraid of Mother Yasoda. He was running in fear of Mother Yasoda. He was crying. Now, we might think, okay, Krishna is the source of all actors, so he's the best actor, so he can act like this is all happening. But he's not actually acting. Say, but if he's God, why would he be afraid? And Queen Kunti had this dilemma. She said, you are running out of fear. But fear personified is afraid of you, and you are the supreme. So I don't understand. When Krishna exhibits human-like qualities such as fear, or being frightened, or showing some unhappiness, crying as a child, depression, it's not that he's acting for the pleasure of Yasoda. Well, indirectly that's true. But it's not that he's aware that he's the Supreme Lord and he's acting for Yasoda's pleasure. Yogamaya understands Krishna's desire, and she understands the need of the relationship. And so there's a need in that relationship, as we were saying earlier, to manifest more and more love, to draw more and more love out of the heart of Yasoda for Krishna. And Krishna knows how to do that. And in this relationship and in these leelas, the way to do that is to not allow Yasoda to have any idea that he's the supreme, and not even to allow himself to know. So like we say, the devotee forgets that Krishna is the supreme. Well, a lot of times he forgets himself. He forgets also that he's the supreme. And that is where Yogamaya comes in, because Yogamaya knows what will enhance the Leela. And so she actually causes him to forget when it's necessary or favorable for the pastimes. So he's actually afraid of her when he sees the stick. He's actually running in fear of her. He saw the stick and he's thinking, what is she going to do with that stick? She's going to beat me. I have to run. I have to get away from her. So anyway, she caught up with him, finally caught him, and of course he allowed that to happen. But this is all the arrangement of Yogamaya. So it's not that Krishna's consciously now doing these things. He is forgetting himself, because by forgetting himself, the love, the rasa, the sweetness increases. Now there's an example of how Yogamaya works, which is really interesting. It's in the story of Krishna eating dirt. So Krishna's friends were upset with him, and they wanted to get him in trouble. So they told his mother he was eating dirt, so he would get punished. That's how they were going to get back at him. So, as we know, Mother Yashoda says, open your eyes. Excuse me, open your mouth, I want to see. So, what does she see? She sees everything in the universe within his mouth. But if you remember the story, the covering of Yogamaya is removed at that point. And she understands that Krishna is the Supreme and she is not his mother, but she's simply a servant. Now, that establishes this little boy is the Supreme Personality of God. It establishes that tattva for the world, but it completely destroys the relationship that Yasoda has with Krishna. So Yogamaya cannot allow this. So Yogamaya comes in and causes forgetfulness. And Yasoda actually forgets everything she saw. And so she doesn't see the dirt, and she forgets the whole incident, and she just says, okay, whatever. And the Acharyas explain that she never, ever in her life remembered that incident, because if she did, it would ruin the relationship. Now she would think, he's God, I'm just a servant. The relationship must exist entirely that he is my son. Some people say he's Narayan, as Nanda Maharaj said, I don't care what they say. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. All I know is he's my son, and I love him. So in order to keep that relationship, that pure, loving relationship intact, then Yogamaya causes Yasoda to never, ever again remember this event. If she did, it would ruin the relationship. There's another example. It is said that Krishna was crying. He cried and rubbed his eyes again and again. So what happens when Krishna cries? Well, a lot more than when we cry, because he's the Supreme. So we cry a few tears, he cries oceans. So at least puddles. So it's described that when he was crying at Krishna's feet, there were puddles of water from his tears. So if Mother Yasoda sees the puddles of water, she's going to think, this boy is not ordinary. No ordinary boy can cry puddles of water. But because he's the Supreme, when he cries puddles of water. So Yogamaya then comes, and Yogamaya dries up all the water, because she's thinking, if Yasoda sees this, this is going to ruin everything. Yasoda can't know this. So she actually dries up the puddles. So Yogamaya is there like a producer in a movie, producing the Leelas and knowing what is in Krishna's heart. So she makes it happen. So knowing in Krishna's heart that he wants to forget that he's the Supreme, it will happen. She'll make it happen. And if for the Leela, it's going to help him to know that he is the Supreme, then she'll make that happen. Then he'll remember if that's needed. So there's this, that's her job, to facilitate Leela. And so that's what she did. And as the story unfolds, as we know, she finally is able to bind him, but he didn't like it, and she went away, And she bound him thinking he's naughty. But Nalakuvara Manigriva had to be liberated. So it all, fits into the Leela as like a fiction novel, So they're blessed. In the prayers of the Damodarastakam, Satyavrata Muni is relishing these Leelas, and he says something which I've always found so significant. He said, just by meditating on this Leela, how so many things were going on, Krishna's sweetness, the love of Jasoda, how Nalakuvara Manigriva were blessed, although they didn't deserve it, and Krishna agreed to follow through on Narada Muni's promise, and all these things happened. Then, if I think of all the opulences in this world, this is the only treasure that I want, is to remember these Leelas. This is millions of opulences are of no use to me. So Krishna engages in this Leela, ultimately, not just to gratify Jasoda, but for all the Vaishnavas then and now and forevermore. For then, in the past, now and forevermore. So we can think of these Leelas that have the power to destroy desire for anything else other than remembrance of these attractive Leelas. It's interesting, isn't it? That a remembrance of a story could defeat all my material desires and detach me from everything else in this world other than just to remember these pastimes. The childhood pastimes are so sweet and so powerful. Millions of opulences are of no use to me. I just want to remember these pastimes and your beautiful face and Mother Yasoda tying you up and chasing you and delivering Nalakuvara Manigriva, and then this pastime is so amazing. I offer my obeisances to it. I offer my obeisances to the rope, and I offer my obeisances to Radha. So, one point on Radha, sometimes at the end of the Damodarastakam, we chant Jai Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. And you might think, but it's Jasoda Damodar. Why don't we sing Jaya Jashoda Damodara? Well, I actually heard somebody singing it the other day for the first time. But Radha Damodar is not improper, because this is Radharani's month, as we said. She is worshipped by our Kartik Brata. But once Krishna was late for his appointment, his rendezvous with Srimati Radharani, and when he's late, sometimes she becomes very upset. Sometimes she doesn't wait for him. She just leaves and sulks, and he has to find her and apologize. This time she waited, and she was upset with him, so she bound him by the belly with a rope. So, Radha Damodar. That's the meaning of Radha Damodar. As Radha also bound him. So, this month, what I would suggest to all of you is don't let this month go by without singing these prayers, without celebrating these Leelas, without offering a candle, without doing some austerity, some tapasya. This is a very special month. This is, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, celebration of the Vaishnava holidays it's extremely important. It's foundational to our bhakti. So if you celebrate this month properly, your Krishna consciousness will grow, and the sweetness of Krishna consciousness will grow within you. So it's really a special month that Krishna gives us. Becoming Krishna conscious is, as we know, a slow process. This month you can speed it up a lot, And especially this month, you'll experience a special bliss that you won't normally experience. Even if you're not in Vrindavan, anywhere you are, you'll experience that sweetness. It's Radharani's month, and wherever Radharani is present, there's sweetness, there's compassion, there's a special feeling that you can't describe. So as we meditate on Damodar, as we worship Damodar in this month, we're also receiving the mercy of Radha. So as promised, we're going to talk about endeavor and mercy. As we said, Mother Yasoda was always trying to bind Krishna, but she couldn't. 2 fingers too short, or 2 inches too short. And these 2 inches or 2 fingers represent endeavor and mercy. And endeavor and mercy seem to be contradictory ideas, because mercy is defined as receiving something that you don't deserve. So then how could you make an effort to get something you don't deserve? Or what effort could you make to get it if you don't deserve it anyway, if it's a gift? Mercy is juxtaposed with justice. Justice means you deserve it. You either committed a crime and are punished, or you've done some meritorious activity and you are rewarded. So, mercy versus justice. I've committed a crime. I go to court and I say, Your Honor, I beg mercy. And the honor and the judge says, the magistrate, no. No mercy. Justice must be served. In Krishna consciousness, it's not exactly like that. And there was a Christian monk, sadhu, I'm not sure who it was, if it was St. Augustine, I forget, St. Francis, I think it was one of those two. Maybe, actually I don't know, don't quote me. Pray as if everything depends on God, which it does, of course, but work as if everything depends upon you. In other words, work for what you're praying for. Krishna says, Yeyata mam prapadyante tamstadaiva bhajamyaham. So, there has to be some surrender or some approach, some action, not only attitude. The attitude has to reflect an action. So if I'm just praying, but I'm not endeavoring, okay, I may say, Krishna, please help me. I can do nothing. I can't help myself. But still, I have to try to help myself, even though that help is insufficient. I still must do that, because that way I show Krishna that I need his help. I need his guidance. That I'm willing to try. As the joke goes, the man comes to the temple and prays to God, or to the church, or to the mosque, and prays to God. Well, it should be a temple, deity. And he prays, please, oh God, please help me win the lottery. And then he hears a voice coming back, buy a lottery ticket. So sometimes our prayers exist without any effort. And so, okay, if you're Draupadi, you've tried everything, and now it's like, okay, I've tried everything. Okay, at least you tried. And it all failed. So now my only thing I can do is pray and put my hands up in the air. It's out of my control. Yes, but at least she tried. She made the effort. Didn't she? Okay, sometimes we make an effort, and then the result is nothing. We realize our efforts are of no avail. And we just put our hands up in the air and say, Krishna, I am unqualified to achieve this. I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. We see Prabhupada's prayers aboard the Jaladuta. But it was aboard the Jaladuta. He was going there to make the effort and telling Krishna, I don't know how I will be successful, but I'm making the effort, but I depend upon you. So we see that it's a kind of teamwork. in this story of Jasoda, she was making an effort, a big effort, to tie Krishna up. So the effort was there. So that was one of the two fingers was effort. And so what we learn from the story, that effort must be made. It's not only prayer. I meditated on this for a long time. I've spoken about it for a long time. And I've experienced it. I experienced it for a long time. But I was looking for a quote. I was looking for something that was more explicit about this idea, because it always seemed to confuse devotees a little bit. If, Lord Chaitanya is all merciful, the holy name's all merciful, what do we really have to do? Isn't it all just His mercy? And we're just receiving His mercy. And isn't, as we said, isn't it all just mercy? It's like there's nothing you can do. You just put your hands out and get it. That's true. But it's not the whole picture, because if you have to put your hands out and get it, at least you have to put your hands out. Now, Prabhupada said, sometimes there is kripa, that you're liberated by kripa, guru kripa, kripa siddhi. So a devotee asked Prabhupada, how does kripa siddhi work? And he said, I put money in your pocket. You don't even put your hand out. Okay, but Prabhupada said, that is something rare, and that is something we can't depend on. I have to make, so he gave the example, go to university, get a degree. You can't just study books and depend upon the university to give you a degree, although sometimes they do that. If you show excellence in a topic, they may give you an honorary degree. But most of the time, you actually have to go to school and make the effort. So I finally found the quote one day, by accident, in a book that was sitting in an ashram that I was visiting, a temple, and I was staying overnight. And some devotee wrote a book, I forget what the book was about. He just looked like he printed a few copies. I don't know the devotee. And in the beginning of the book, I open it up, and there's this quote by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And this was what I was looking for. And I will paraphrase it. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, unless we make our best efforts sincerely, there is no chance, or it's impossible, to get the mercy of the Lord. We won't get the mercy of the Lord unless we make our best efforts sincerely. I think he used the word, unless we extend our best efforts sincerely. We won't attract the mercy with the Lord, and without the mercy, we can't become Krishna conscious. I said, oh, there it is. It's right there. It's very clear. So, sometimes all we have to do is make an effort, and make a useless effort at that, but just make the effort, and then Krishna sees, oh, you're making an effort. I'll give you mercy. This came up in a conversation that Giriraj Swami had with Srila Prabhupada. And he was chanting, but his mind was wandering. And so he asked Prabhupada, is it an offense to chant when your mind's wandering? I'm not actually hearing. And of course the answer is yes, but Prabhupada didn't say yes. And Prabhupada asked a question. He said, are you trying? He said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, I'm trying. Prabhupada said, if you're trying, it's not an offense. Very, very interesting answer. Later on, I read a definition of offenseless chanting given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said, offenseless chanting means to make an effort to not commit the offenses. Actually, he said it, offensive chanting, said it the other way. He said, offensive chanting means to make no effort to avoid the offenses. So the whole difference between namabhas and namaparad is, in namaparad, you're allowing yourself to commit aparad. You're not making any effort to avoid it. If you just begin chanting some person on the street, you don't know what the offenses are, and you can't make any effort to avoid them. So your chanting is considered namabhas. But when you become a devotee and you want to come to the platform of Shuddhanam, you have to know what are the offenses to be avoided. But the The situation is that once you know what the offenses are, then because you know, you can make them if you don't endeavor not to make them. Whereas if you don't know, it's not considered that you're making them, which is why Shastra says so many people were chanting Namabhas by referring to the holy name or jokingly saying the holy name. So, offenseless chanting means, offensive chanting means to chant the holy name without making an effort to avoid the offenses. That's a very, very interesting definition, very simple and very clear. Effort gets us out of the offensive stage, or effort, we would say better to say effort keeps us out of the offensive stage, keeps us in the stage of Namabhas. And by that effort, as Bhaktisiddhanta said, unless we extend our best efforts earnestly, we will not receive the mercy of Krishna. So we're doing devotional service and we're failing. A lot of us feel like we're failing in our japa, or we're failing in our detachment, or we're failing in our self-discipline. And Prabhupada would always say, be patient, continue. So it's really important for all of us to understand we don't always have to look at the result, because the result will come gradually according to our level of purification, our level of advancement. You can't create a result. You can't make it happen. But the result comes from mercy. So another example, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur in the Harinam Chintamani poses the question, how do you become free from the offense of inattention? And he said, you can't. Unless you have the mercy of a Vaishnava, you can't. He also said, either he or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, you can't even desire to serve Krishna, because that desire is a product of mercy. So you can only make the effort, get the mercy, by the mercy become purified. As you become purified, your desire becomes stronger, so you can't just have a stronger desire. It's connected to Krishna allowing you to get his mercy, so you become purified, so the desire becomes stronger. I mean, of course, we push ourselves, effort, determination, but the actual desire, spiritual desire, strengthens through purification. And that purification, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I believe it was him, who said, it comes by mercy of the pure devotee, because your effort is pleasing them. Now, Prabhupada often said, I am pleased with your service. And we told the story earlier of this devotee, a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who was very much disliked in Gaudiya Math, and Prabhupada said did a lot of things that were improper. But because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta accepted his service, he got the mercy. And there's another story of a devotee, a sannyasi, who wanted to do Ganga Parikram, walk the whole Ganga, from the mouth of the Ganga all the way around. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta did not think this was proper. It wasn't necessary. We're in a preaching mission, so that was, it was just, he just didn't have his reasons. We can understand he had his reasons, but he didn't want him to do it. And so as the story was explained, this disciple did it anyway. And when he returned, I don't know how long it took, but when he returned, and that was quite an austerity, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta took away his sannyas. He was not pleased. So you make this huge effort, but it's not what your spiritual master wants, there's no mercy. Another story. Shrutikirti was very inspired by seeing the book distributors. They were very, very blissful. And he kind of got the bug, the fever, and he wanted to go out, but he was Prabhupada's servant. So he asked Prabhupada, can I go out on book distribution? Now we all know, if you've ever done book distribution, it's like flooded with mercy. You get so much mercy for going out, because it's so pleasing to Prabhupada and Krishna. So he wanted to get that mercy. And Prabhupada said, you can go out, but you won't get my mercy, because Prabhupada didn't want him to go out. And Prabhupada said, "You are my servant. Your service is to be with me 24/7. He didn't use those words, but 24 hours a day. That's your service. So you can go out, but without my mercy." One time, a devotee, it was a senior devotee, temple president, he wrote to Prabhupada that he was going to remarry or wanted to remarry. And Prabhupada allowed him. And of course, if you read Prabhupada's statements in books, he very much discouraged divorce. And so Shrutikirti asked Prabhupada, "Why did you allow him?" And he said, "Because he's going to do it anyway." Prabhupada could tell from his letter that he was more or less telling Prabhupada this is what he's going to do, more than asking. And Prabhupada said, "If I say no, he would be disobeying my order, and that would be detrimental for his spiritual life. So if I say yes, then he won't be disobeying my order." So that Krishna is there also. So Krishna's looking at us. Are we pleasing our spiritual master? Are we pleasing Prabhupada? And because of that, he gives mercy. Like sometimes a disciple may please their guru, but the guru may not know that the disciple did that service. But through the system, Krishna is pleased, the mercy comes. Krishna knows, oh, this is what this devotee's guru asked him to do, and he did it. I am pleased. So even the guru is not conscious of it. Just that the guru is pleased, Krishna then kicks in with mercy. And there's so many examples of this that I think the point is clear. This is why Vaishnava Aparad is so deleterious. It's so bad. Because the Vaishnavas should be served in order to get their mercy. The Vaishnavas should be heard in order to get their mercy. But if we offend the Vaishnavas, then that mercy flow is cut off. And if that mercy flow is cut off, once the mercy is cut off, we can't make spiritual advancement on our own, because it's all by mercy. It's not by our effort. Our effort is only attracting mercy, but it's the mercy that's doing it. Effort, I'll go on Sankirtan, I'll make this effort, but my guru doesn't want it. I'll go do Ganga Parikrama, but my guru doesn't want it. So the effort, if it doesn't attract the mercy, the effort alone, it doesn't do anything. Interesting, right? So if I serve the Vaishnavas, if I do some little service, something to please the Vaishnavas, then Krishna is pleased because I please the Vaishnavas, and then Krishna gives me mercy. If I do something to offend the Vaishnavas, I should always avoid offending them, because if I upset a Vaishnava, then some mercy is restricted, and in some cases, complete mercy is restricted. There is a story in which some devotees started a community. They had left ISKCON, and the community followed only 2 regulative principles. And they were still doing kirtan, but they were engaging in illicit sex and intoxication. And so when Prabhupada found out about it, he was told, it was explained by the GBC, that their philosophy is that, well, we may not be following all the principles, but at least we're chanting. And Prabhupada said, but that chanting is disrespect, the 3rd offense, to disobey the order of the spiritual master. So it's nam-aparad. So although you're chanting, it's nam-aparad. So you're going through the process of chanting, but it's not working. It's not you just chant, well, it's the Hare Krishna mantra, so it's always going to work. It's always pure, it's Krishna, it's non-different. No. When you make offenses, Krishna is absent. He's not there. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that. Krishna is absent in offensive chanting. So then Prabhupada said, to this argument, that at least we're chanting, Prabhupada said, yeah, and that chanting maybe in 300 lives will be effective, because if you chant offensively, there's no mercy. So you have to chant life after life after life, eventually stop making the offenses, and maybe in 300 lives you'll stop making offenses. Or he was saying, if you keep making these offenses, it could take 300 lives before you overcome the offense. So another example of how doing something which is not pleasing the Guru doesn't produce any effect. Even chanting Hare Krishna does not produce effect if it's not pleasing to the spiritual master, or pleasing or pleasing to the Vaishnavas. Of course, it always has to be pleasing to the Guru, following his order. So when mercy comes, mercy fills a gap that's in our life, and the gap is that this is where we are and this is where we need to be. And in that gap, our efforts alone will not get us here. Our efforts will only get us here. We're like, this is our threshold. We try to go above it by our effort, but we can't. And the goal of Krishna consciousness is way up here. Mercy fills this gap. So mercy takes us to a place we cannot go on our own. Mercy gives us realization, mercy gives us strength, mercy gives us effort. And a lot of times we think that we're very, very Krishna conscious, or very, very inspired, or very spiritually detached and strong, when it's not actually us. It's almost like kind of like a Mayavad philosophy, that we're identifying with that Shakti of mercy that's helping us advance. We're getting the mercy, the kripa of our spiritual master, of Srila Prabhupada. And then all these good qualities are coming from it. But the fact of the matter is, it's not us. And when we're feeling strong, we might think, I'm feeling spiritually strong. But we should always understand that strength is not coming from us. It's coming from the mercy that is a byproduct of the process we're following. So I go out and I speak, or I distribute books, I help people become Krishna conscious. Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada are smiling on us, showering blessings, as Prabhupada said. So I feel very inspired. I feel very strong. But it's actually the mercy that's doing it. And I'm just making the effort, and I'm getting their mercy. And so that's the secret. In Srimad Bhagavatam, I believe it's Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says that the secret of success is pleasing the spiritual master. And Prabhupada always said that my success, he would humbly say, I'm not qualified, but my success is that I follow the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. It is all his mercy. So Prabhupada always gave credit to this mercy, but we can see in that statement of giving credit to the mercy, even though Prabhupada said, I didn't do anything, what did he mean that he didn't do anything? He meant that he made the effort, and that everything was arranged by the mercy of his Guru and the acharyas that Prabhupada, Rupa Goswami told Prabhupada, or Prabhupada heard, or within the heart, I forget how that story goes, that you just go to the West, I will be there behind you, I will take care of everything. You just make the effort. So this is really one of the most important takeaways from this story. And we shouldn't be afraid if we have big service that we feel maybe is beyond our capability. At least we make the effort to do the best we can. I remember there was one devotee. He had amazing preaching programs. He made so many devotees. He established so many namhatas. It was incredible. And he was so successful, but he wasn't a good manager. And how it happened was just by his sincerity, by his effort, so many people came to help him. So even on the material level of service, of moving matter, making things happen, sometimes just the sincerity attracts Krishna's attention, and Krishna sends people, sends resources to help. This is how it works. So humility is defined as needing help. I feel unqualified and I feel I need help. And in so many ways, Prabhupada has told us we should always feel that I'm not qualified to achieve Krishna consciousness. I'm not even qualified to do my service. but I'm praying to Krishna, you please help me. While, as I said, we're making the effort, we're making the endeavor. And the result is Krishna sends his mercy. That is humility. Always feeling, it's not me, it's the mercy of my Guru, it's the mercy of Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Radha and Krishna. That's actually the definition of humility. So we talk a lot about the need for being humble, and sometimes we may look at humility as being soft-spoken, letting someone go in front of us, being introspective, seeing our faults, not seeing the faults of others. This is all true. But this is also one of the primary principles of humility. In fact, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that in chanting of the holy name, humility means, Krishna, I cannot become Krishna conscious on my own. I need your help. And I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I'm chanting, praying to you for help. I need help. Please help me. I need help in becoming a pure devotee. On my own, I can't do it. It's not possible. That's Trinada Pisunichena in relation to chanting the holy name. And that tolerance is this essential point of humility. That I will go on chanting, I will go on endeavoring, whether Krishna shows me mercy or not, like the chakora bird, only takes water from the clouds, only looks up, I will only take water. I'm thirsty, there's no rain, but I'll only take water from the clouds. I'll only take mercy from Krishna. So I go on endeavoring, no matter what, I go on endeavoring. Krishna sends mercy, he doesn't. I am dependent on his mercy. I have faith in his mercy that he will give it when he wants to, according to what I need, how he wants to give it. And the last point I want to make is that we have to be qualified, we have to have the adhikari for the mercy, because Krishna will only give as much mercy as we are capable of using or qualified of using. At one time Prabhupada said, if Krishna gave you too much mercy too fast, you would actually become proud, because you would fill that gap in a few days, and then up here, not yet being qualified for it, you would become proud that you're a more advanced devotee than others. And you would think, well, if I'm up here, I would be humble. If it takes you your whole life to get here, you will get it here because you're humble. If it takes you a week, you want this mercy to come here. Prabhupada said you would become proud of your advancement. So, your cup has to be strong enough to hold the liquid. So Krishna is going to give you the mercy according to your ability to use it, to remain humble, to not identify with your spiritual advancement in a way that you think you're better, that you think you're qualified, that you did it, but actually it's all coming from him. And if we stay humble like that, then he'll just pour more and more mercy on us, and then we'll make more and more advancement. Thank you very much. Sri Sri Radha Damodar Ki Jai. I wish you all have wonderful, wonderful rest of the Kartik. Make this month special. Make this time special. Absorb yourself in this Leela. Learn from it. Relish it. And share it with others. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.